Oh, I'm sorry, I was eating my apple. We're back. Good morning for beautiful downtown Blue Ridge. I'm your host, BKP. We're at Sycamore Crossing, and I'm here with Dr. William Whaley, and we want to thank the Georgia Cancer Specialist for always sponsoring this segment. I told you yesterday, welcome, Dr. Whaley. How are you?
Fine. You see those women out there getting their morning constitutional. It's about 68 degrees. It's beautiful. Now it's going to be a little hotter this afternoon. We got to get ready for the train whistle. We got to tell people about health care and our president being in France and getting a parade today.
You got to say it like that.
I say Macron. I was calling him macaroon last week.
I
told you before.
You know,
I have a patient who had a home in Normandy, and I used to go to France 3 times a year. I could drive in France without a map, and I got angry at him, and I just said, I'm not going back to France, but I think now I might go back to France. I mean, I really like I like the guys. The guy clearly is a European. He's a European, I don't know, nationalist, what do you want to call him, and he has disagreements with Trump, but he did the right thing, and he wants to be a conduit. And this is the 100th anniversary of the entrance into World War I, and I'm on the Centennial Commission of the World War I. I don't get to go to many meetings because they hold them on Wednesday when I'm up here, but I am on the state commission, and I think he did a good thing. And it got me to thinking, we've got people in our state legislature that went to Georgia, and some went to Georgia Tech, and some went to Auburn, and some went to Alabama, and they wouldn't make water on one another if they were on fire at football season, but they work well together in the legislature. So that's what I say. If the two guys didn't disagree on the prior peace talks, they could sure agree on Syria and terrorism and that stuff.
Well, you know, when you bring that up, the President Trump and Melania, the First Lady, are there in France, and they're with President Macron, and I make a mistake, and I tell myself not to do it, because if I ever see someone's name and I mispronounce it the first time, it's stuck, or I shouldn't intentionally do it. So when you said macaron, I said that last week, and it took me.
I was making it as a joke.
Yeah, I know, but it took me all week after you said that to get that out of my head. But you know, on here our media, and not, you know, I'm tired of bringing up the distrust in the media and all the reasons we have for not trusting some of the major media market outlets. They continually talk about the world is in fear, the world is concerned on where Trump is, the world doesn't, you know, on the world stage, how is this playing? Macron is upset, Angela Merkel is upset. I mean, everybody. But that's not true. Trump's playing okay on the world stage. Yeah. He's doing okay on the world stage. Macron and him actually are giving off that they actually like each other.
The point is that they have to deal with him. But I did get an email from my English friend, who's supposed to be the 8th wealthiest man in England, now living in south of France, actually Monaco. The word in the yacht club is that Trump is no longer considered the most powerful world leader in the world. Previously, the American president's been said to be the most powerful man in the world, and he gets the feel from these all very wealthy people that Trump is no longer the most powerful leader in the world. Now, we're the most powerful country in the world. I think something like this with the trip to France, the big military, you realize that he set up some of the way the staging is going to be done, that he wanted tanks and he wanted airplanes instead of just troops. When we have a parade, we just have troops. I think some of that pomp and ceremony will help, and that if he'll get his thumbs off the tweet, I just don't see that world leaders believe in the tweet. And so when they see the tweet, it diminishes his power. His power's huge, but he diminishes his own power by the tweet. And
well, see, I don't.
I'm not going to argue with them.
No, I don't look at the world. I don't look at the world stage the same way, because I'm not opposed to the world. They're out there. I know this morning they're out there, and I wish them well. But I probably maybe more of an American first kind of guy than, I don't know, I don't want to say than I should be, because I'm not going to say that. I love it right here, okay? And
you're not a Lindbergh or a Joseph Kennedy type American first. Not that bad, huh?
No.
Okay, all right. All right, well, let's talk about medical stuff. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about today.
Okay. Which one you want first? Can adults?
You pick it.
All right. Can adults develop food allergy?
Yes.
Just period,
That's
right?
it, yeah.
They can develop a
sure.
food at any time?
At any time. Now, it's not very common. We went through all this before.
Most food
allergies begin with kids. Stuff like peanuts and stuff are as serious as a train wreck. But as you age, you have lots of enzymatic things that go on in your GI tract, and so food allergies and intolerances, let's sort of throw them all together. Obviously, all newborns of every single solitary mammalian species drink milk.
Right.
When you get to your 50s or 60s, a sizable proportion of Anglo-Saxon European people like us have lactose intolerance. Let's say that's 20% or so. When you get to 90, it might be as much as 30 or 40%. So over the time of evolution, that's not an allergy. That's loss of an enzyme that metabolizes the sugar in milk called lactose. Be a lot more in Jews, would be a lot more in blacks and other racial groups. So people, when they're talking about food allergies, really talk about intolerances, and yes, you develop those as you go along. But if you're not allergic to strawberries by the time you're 3 years old, you're unlikely to get allergic to strawberries. You might get allergic to some of the stuff they now put on strawberries to make them stay red a long time in the grocery store, and think that you're allergic to the strawberry, but you're actually allergic to the additive that they put on there to make it look pretty.
Let me just say this with you while we're talking about allergies. You know, something that I was, my allergist said when I was young, somehow, I know it's strange, but somehow I've enjoyed cutting grass since I was 8 years old.
I started cutting grass for a living when I was 8.5 years
exactly.
old.
We were going to
a quarter along.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, I got a little more than a quarter, but
yeah, because you came home
8 years old,
20 years later.
8 years old for you and me was just a little different. Okay, so I lost. So, but.
It's because a powerful, beautiful woman walked on the set and you just dropped your teeth. Go ahead. Get them back in there.
Oh, folks, Tab is good
you
for
can't deal with her. You can't deal with me. I mean, you get what you get. Go ahead.
So, but I was allergic. I am allergic to fresh cut grass and always have been. And I mean, I love it, but when oh my gosh, fresh cut grass just tears me up. And that's something that I've always had, you know, and that's why I got to take the Claritin and stuff. But
well, let me tell you, we've told this before, and this is not a violation of doctor-patient relationship, because the man that owns the tractor company up here, his biggest fun is bush hogging his fields, right?
Right. Absolutely.
He's so allergic to that daggum grass, but he just puts up with it and sniffs that stuff and takes that Claritin just like you.
Yeah.
It's not, if you can do it, go ahead. All right, so let's get to the questions now.
All right, okay.
First question we got rid of.
All right, this is interesting. Will a bedtime snack help me sleep better?
Okay, now we've gone through this before too, so we're recycling a lot of stuff. The question was, previously, why do I get tired in the mid-afternoon when I'm at work? When you eat, food then goes to your stomach. Stomach then draws the blood out of the blood supply to digest the food, and that then, if it goes away from your brain, diminishes your alertness somewhat. We were also talking about the bedtime snack, if it includes something like milk, turkey, protein. Some of those things have amino acids in them that can sedate you just a little bit. So yeah, a glass of milk and a piece of cheese or something when you crawl into bed can help you go to sleep a little bit better. Now, if it was a cup of coffee, the answer would be no. Which brings us into the coffee today. Right? I got to come back before the day's over. I got to come back to coffee. So
all right.
All right.
Let's see. I'm going to read this exactly the way it's written, but I don't quite understand it. I have to say, is it true that occasionally following a fasting diet, if you follow a fasting diet, can it reduce your risk of heart disease?
The answer to the question in simple fashion is no. Anything that you do that with nutritionally sound, that allows you to lose weight or allows you to increase your activity level or allows you to lower your cholesterol, will improve it will lower your risk of heart disease. The act of fasting for one day to get started on a diet when you've been on a vacation and you've had way too many margaritas and too many pieces of cake on a cruise or something, you go home and go, okay, I'm gonna fast for one whole day, and you do nothing but drink water or something or other. You may have yourself something, some celery or something like that, and call it a fast. If you do something like that for 24 hours to sort of break this cycle and it gets you back on a diet, the answer is yes. But fasting as having some sort of secret to it other than assisting you with weight reduction, cholesterol control, blood pressure control because of diet alone is no, will not.
Okay. All right, let's circle back to coffee, because it seems like you want to come back to coffee. So you have something you're waiting with.
Yeah, I got a few things we got to do for public health, but coffee gets a bad rap.
It does. I agree with that.
Tupelo tea gets a good rap, but coffee gets a bad rap. There's a study came out yesterday that was a study of 2.5 million people. That's a huge study. And this is a study of people of all races. Most other previous coffee publications have been mostly American white, economically privileged people. This one got all economic classes, got Asians, Hispanic people, Arabic and Sephardic Jewish people, African American people who drank between 1 and 3 cups of coffee a day, all other things being equal, had an 18% reduction in sudden death in the next decade. Now, it used to be that people said coffee causes pancreatic cancer. Then there was one that coffee protects against pancreatic cancer. We've already said before that coffee taken before exercise improves your ability to do it because it stimulates your heart rate, and that's why athletes do it. And that's the little energy drinks that Sam drinks over there. So basically, at the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is coffee has had a bad rap. The rap is getting a little bit better, and I think you shouldn't feel bad if you're drinking 1, 2, or 3 cups of coffee a day. That does not mean monster drink all day long, and we have continually gone against high doses of caffeine. But there are people who wean themselves off of coffee and go to decaffeinated coffee, and do so because of blood pressure, rapid heart rate, things that hurt their stomach. We encourage that. But if coffee is not causing you to have any side effects, don't beat yourself up because you drink a couple of cups every day.
I got used to decaf. I used to drink a lot of coffee in the morning, but I stopped that. But I got used to decaf because I like an afternoon cup of coffee. When I say evening, go out on the porch. It's 7 o'clock. I like my book, or I watch TV on this.
Take one of those cigars I gave you.
I take one of those cigars. We don't tell those people, but I take one of those cigars right there, which you know that.
I really think this kind of a program should be open, and
I'm pretty sure you've said that before. So.
Yes, and it should be open and transparent. We shouldn't have any hidden agenda.
All right, so let's start over.
All right,
no hidden, if you can bring the tab. Okay, so about 7 o'clock, let's see if I get it right this time. I like to go out on the side porch, take one of those cigars over there, get my computer or a book and a decaf coffee because I cannot drink in the evening anymore and go to sleep. Let me ask you that while I have you, because I used to drink coffee. And don't go talk about me being old or anything. All right?
I won't.
You be careful.
No, I won't.
Okay. But I used to drink coffee like all day, and I could sit down when I was in my 20s, have a cup of coffee at 8 o'clock at night, go to bed and not think twice. I have a cup of coffee with caffeine now at 8 o'clock. Oh no, my night's over. I mean,
I think
what happens
well,
there?
first of all, I think when you're in your 20s, your hair was a different color. And
I knew you would.
Think when you were in your 20s, you could run a little faster, jump a little higher, and hit a little harder. When you are in your late teens up to about the age of 28 to 30 or 32, your sleep pattern is such that you can sleep 3 hours a night for weeks at a time, like when you're in college, or go to sleep on Friday night and wake up on Sunday morning and still always be rested and energetic. We call that youth. And your ability to tolerate the stimulant of coffee is high at that point in time and is diminished with age. And there's not a thing in the world you can do to change it except habit, and know you don't tolerate that coffee at 5 o'clock like you did when you were in your 20s.
Hey, while I have you here, can I get one of my own questions in?
Oh yeah, sure.
All right, I've heard two things. This is a two-part. I heard two things. There's no such thing as catching up on your sleep. So when you say I catch up on my sleep on a weekend, you don't catch up on it. Now, I sleep 4 or 5 hours a night, and that's it. Max 6, but 4 or 5 hours a night. Is that bad? Am I, because like I don't feel bad. I mean, I do get tired in the afternoon or something, you know, but is that bad? And then on Saturday I might sleep 6.5, 7.
All right, everything's a bell-shaped curve. You step on the elevator, and Wilt Chamberlain is on there, and he's 7 feet tall, and Eddie Arcaro's on there, and he's 5 feet tall, and both of them are excellent athletes, and each catches your attention because one's really tall and one's really short. But they're both normal, and they're opposite ends of this bell-shaped curve of height. So if you take that bell-shaped curve of sleep, that middle chunk that's going to be 2/3 of people for adults, somewhere around 7 hours and 15 minutes to around 8 hours and 15 minutes of sleep is the average amount of sleep required. So if you're sleeping 4 hours or 5 hours a night, and wake up spontaneously most of the time and do not need to be awakened by the alarm clock, then that's your biology telling you that's enough sleep for you. Now over 4, 5, or 6 days, you might get a little bit tired. And if you sleep 6 or 8 hours on a Saturday, you really are catching up. Okay, the way you do this in the military is when you've got special operations forces that are going out on a mission. As you remember, they sometimes take amphetamines, I've told you that, but they might be on that mission 30, 40 hours with no sleep at all. It could be even longer. And then if they have a few minutes, they do like the Japanese do and sleep for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and that's power nap sort of thing. But when that mission's over, they go back and they get in a dark hole somewhere and they sleep a long period of time to catch up for it. So there is catching up for sleep in the terribly active people, but if you go into sleep, sleeping relatively well, 5, 6, 7 hours, 5 hours, and wake up spontaneously most of the time and do not become fatigued, it's enough for you.
Okay, because I mean, I was just wondering, you know, because even on like Saturday, I won't set an alarm. I set it through the week just to double, but it's really not an alarm. And on Saturday, you know, I tell people, yeah, I sleep in on Saturdays. I sleep all the way to about 6. So I sleep late on Saturdays.
Well, you are catching up.
And you know, all right, well, any updates? Because we don't want to leave, Dr. Whaley. You always have some updates.
I've got some important things here.
Okay.
Yesterday in the front page of the newspaper, it said that they're selling the parking passes at the high school and doing the drug test to get the parking passes to the high school. And it put me in mind that people are now getting their kids ready for kindergarten or first grade, and they're going to have to go in there with their immunization list. There is a big measles outbreak in the state of Minnesota right now. There have been 100 and something cases this year, and measles is not a joke. Measles causes death, and it causes temperatures of 105, which can give you permanent brain damage. And the reason that Minnesota now has a measles outbreak is exactly the same reason that there was a measles outbreak in Washington and Oregon 2 years ago. And that is that parents are not letting their children get the measles shot when the public health department and the pediatrician says it's time for the measles shot, because they have this unreasonable fear of autism or whatever, which, as we've said before, is not a valid fear. Or they're those tree-hugging, granola-eating naturalists who don't want anything funny in their kid's body, and they're actually endangering public health, but more importantly, they're endangering their own children's health. And so my encouragement to our listening audience is, do your due diligence, but don't do it on some kooky website. Do it on the Mayo Clinic letter, the Harvard letter, or the American Medical Association letter, and you'll find that the recommended immunization program for children to go to school, it has to be updated for high school with the HPV and the hepatitis, all of those, the hazard-benefit ratio is huge on the benefit and low on the hazard. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because I didn't want people being afraid of that. And the second was, it's right now that they're signing up for sport.
Yes.
And they're signing up for soccer and they're signing up for football. And last week I said, if we're talking about high school football, it's not going to diminish their mental alertness or their intellect in the future when they're grown. We went back to the class of 1957. But a study came out yesterday out of England, which I think is really interesting. And this was restricted to boys because it was done in those boys' boarding schools. But soccer, or what English call football, increases the bone density and helps in the maturation of bone of the athletic adolescent. So we'll call him a middle school, high school kid in this country. And swimming and bicycling does not. Now, I want to talk about osteoporosis treatment long ago. You get good cardio from swimming and you get good cardio from bicycling, but when you're swimming, your water's supporting your weight. When you're bicycling, the bicycle's supporting your weight. And when you're running and playing soccer, you're supporting your weight. And that's what increases the bone density. So if you've got a kid who says, should I be a swimmer or a bicycler or a soccer player, let him go play soccer. If he wants to play football, don't worry about him breaking his head. And when the public health department says, wait a minute, he hadn't had his chicken pox or he hadn't had his measles vaccine, let the kid take it. Now, have we run over, Sam?
No, I have to get my next guest in here.
All right, okay. Well, I got a important destination coming in now.
You know what? He said we have to be transparent. You heard it from Dr. Whaley. So I don't know about you out there, but my doctor brings me cigars and he drinks tab. Our friend Dr. Whaley here every Friday morning. You can find these segments on our YouTube channel. And you can find them on FetchYourNews.com under our community section. Also on our YouTube channel, Fetch Your News, FYN TV. And thank you, Georgia Cancer Specialist, for this segment. When we come back, Appalachian Judicial Circuit District Attorney B. Allison Sosby will be with us. Thank you, Dr. Whaley.
That's Allison with one L.
Yes, one L.